I've been watching the Gilmore Girls since I was in junior high, and I used to watch it on this little plastic white TV in my room, and that was back when it originally aired on the WB. So I've been watching it for a really long time, and I loved it then. I still love it now. I love how much they love coffee and treating themselves to really good, decadent food. And I also love that Rory made it cool to be smart and to do well in school and to be excited about school. And I found that really inspiring when I was a kid. But today's video is going to be inspired by some of the delicious food they eat on the show. I'm going to be making homemade versions of it that you can also make at home if you want to eat like a Gilmore Girl for the day. And I hope it gives you some good ideas. Thank you to Thrive Market for teaming up with me on this video. And let's get started making some vegan fried chicken sushi, some pasta alla suki, and so much more. So for breakfast, I decided to make some all vegan cherry danishes, and these are semi-homemade and they're easier to make than you may think. They reference cherry danishes on the show quite a bit, and I think that's because they go so well with coffee. And I'm going to take a little help from the store by using some crescent rolls as the base. This is an accidentally vegan product, which is awesome, and I'm just going to go ahead and roll this out. And yes, they're pre-cut, but what you do is you just kind of press the seams together, lay it out on a piece of parchment paper, and then I use a pizza cutter. You could use a knife and just cut it into 4 strips. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that it's all one piece, and then I'm just gonna twist both sides and make kind of a twisted long ribbon of pastry dough. Then I'm going to anchor the bottom down on the cookie sheet, and I'm just going to create a little rose design kind of. And you don't want this to be too compact. It doesn't need to be super tightly wound. If anything, it's better that it's just kind of barely kissing the other piece of dough. And then you're just going to tuck the end under the bottom. I will put the link to the video where I found this technique on YouTube because I didn't invent this idea. This is all over Pinterest and stuff, but I thought it was cool that it happens to be vegan. And this technique is the one that works the best, I think. The pastry dough itself is really easy to work with, and you can change up the fillings and the toppings however you like. So I think cherry danish is appropriate for Gilmore Girls Day, but you could also do some peanut butter, you could do some cream cheese filling, raspberry jam, you could even do a chocolate hazelnut spread. That would be delicious. And once you have your little roses made, you're just going to press down the center, kind of like when you're making thumbprint cookies. If you are a vegan baker like myself and you've wondered how to get that glossy golden sheen on baked goods that usually an egg wash would provide, using some sort of plant milk and just brushing the outside will give you the same effect. Now, instead of making my own cherry filling, I'm going to use this organic cherry jam from Thrive Market. It's really good for this particular recipe because it's nice and sour and tart and bright, which really contrasts the sweet cream cheese frosting I'm going to put on top so that it's not too sweet first thing in the morning. It's flaky, buttery, kind of sweet and fruity and tart, but not over the top, which I think is perfect. Now, I'm not a particularly patient person, especially when waiting for pastries to cool. I wouldn't say I'm Paris Geller levels of impatient, but one way that I distract myself from immediately eating all the danishes is to pour myself a super extra cup of coffee. A Gilmore Girl knows how to treat herself, so I went a little extra. I did the pumpkin spice creamer, I did vegan whipped cream, I did a little bit of pumpkin spice on top, and then I crawled into bed and watched some TV for a few minutes while the danishes cooled down. Meanwhile, my house smells incredible. It smells like warm, freshly baked Danish. I went ahead and made a cream cheese frosting here to mimic the cheese that danishes usually have in the center. I used a vegan dairy-free cream cheese. I sweetened that with powdered sugar, and I made it really nice and drizzleable with some soy milk. I do a little pinch of salt to bring out the cheesiness, and this is so perfect because you have that warm, fluffy, soft, buttery pastry on the bottom, that fresh kind of tangy zing from the jam in the middle, and then you get that nice, rich, sweet creaminess from the cream cheese glaze. So good and great with coffee. Like I said earlier, this video is brought to you by Thrive Market. It's where I get a lot of my staples, and especially for this video, I found so many great options, including this vegan creamer. So if you don't have vegan creamers near you, check on Thrive Market. They have some really cool options. Also, my favorite chocolate chips. I talk about these so much because I think they're so good for baking, but also making chocolate candies. If you're making Halloween candies this year, I'll put some recipes down below. And then lots of fall staples like pumpkin and nutritional yeast for my pasta alla suki, which you will see later on. So if you guys want to try Thrive Market, make sure you check out the link below because I always save so much money when I do, and everything is delivered to me, which is very convenient when you are a busy person like myself. For lunch, I wanted to make Suki's fried chicken sushi. This was kind of a collaboration between Suki and Lorelai. Suki came up with the fried chicken idea, Lorelai with the sauce, so that's what we're gonna do. And I'm just gonna use some leftover cooked rice that I have in the fridge. I like to warm it up a little bit so that it absorbs the seasoning a little better. It's a little bit softer in the roll. So I added some salt, some rice wine vinegar, and a little bit of agave. And this is basically going to taste like seasoned sushi rice, and it'll be a little bit stickier, which makes it perfect for rolling. And I'm just gonna mix this really well. For the fried chicken, I went ahead and I used some crispy vegan chicken tenders. And this is great because it has that breading and that seasoning on it. So it's gonna have that fried chicken effect. And this could be used just as is once you get it nice and crispy. But I decided to toss it in a Japanese style barbecue sauce, and that was really good too. More is more on a Gilmore Girls day, especially on a Gilmore Girls day. So I did that, and then I made a little slaw. I just used some store-bought shredded cabbage with some scallion, and I made my own spicy mayo basically by mixing together some hot sauce and vegan mayo. I recommend using sriracha. I used kind of a weird hot sauce. It wasn't quite as good, but making your own sriracha mayo is super easy. Always recommend using a serrated knife when cutting your sushi rolls. I find it so much easier. And then I sprinkled the top with some everything but the bagel for a little bit of added texture, a little crunch, and some extra flavor, of course, too. I served this with barbecue sauce on the side for dipping, as well as some low sodium soy sauce, and both were really good. It was nice to have both options, but I recommend the soy sauce because when I did the barbecue sauce, I did a lot on the first bite and I was so confused. Like, what am I eating? Am I eating chicken and coleslaw? Am I eating sushi? This is kind of crazy. But then I did the soy sauce and it all came together really well. So that's what I recommend. I finished the episode of Gilmore Girls I had started in the morning and then moved on to making a make-ahead dessert. And this is perfect for a movie night and it holds up really well in the freezer. These are my chocolate Oreo coffee ice cream sandwiches, and even though I didn't see this exact recipe on the show, it's inspired by the chocolate-covered espresso bean wedding cake that Suki made for Lorelai. And all you do is you take some Oreos, which happen to be vegan, and top it with some vegan coffee ice cream. Then I'm gonna make a melted chocolate sauce, which is kind of gonna have a magic shell effect by mixing together some vegan chocolate chips and refined coconut oil. I prefer to use refined because that way it's not going to impart a coconut flavor. So I just melt that in the microwave until it is glossy and chocolatey and delicious. Drizzle it on top of the ice cream and then I top it with the remaining cookie. I put these in the freezer and they hold up really well in the freezer. If anything, they get even better the next day because the Oreo softens a little bit and you get that delicious layer of chocolate, the coffee ice cream, the Oreo cream filling, and then the crunchy chocolate cookie, and it is absolute bliss. But come dinner time, I decided to make one of my all-time favorite recipes, which is my butternut and bacon mac and cheese. This is a all-vegan version, and you could also call it pasta alla Suki, but I'm going to be showing you a recipe from the online cooking course that I taught last year. There are so many recipes in that course, but this is one that they said that it was okay if I shared with you, so I'm going to show you. This is actually footage from the course. So I'm just gonna go ahead and soak some cashews in hot water. Into a blender, I add some soy milk and then the softened cashews, which is gonna make the creamiest, silkiest sauce. I'll add some frozen butternut squash and some steamed carrot. That's gonna give this not only beautiful color, but also body and tons of added nutrients. Then I'm gonna add my nutritional yeast as well as salt, turmeric, and onion powder, and a couple of dashes, just a couple of cayenne pepper. Now, one of the secrets to this sauce is the pasta water. So the water that the noodles were boiling in gets nice and starchy, and that's going to mix with the cashews and also the vegetables that we added in the sauce, the starchy vegetables, and it will blend and emulsify into the silkiest, creamiest sauce, but we don't have to add any kind of dairy at all to get that richness, which I absolutely love. And this is going to be a little bit thinner at first, and then as it heats up with the pasta, it will cook into and cling to the pasta and thicken up because of the heat. It activates the starches. I like to add a little bit more vegan cheddar cheese. You can do that if you like, it's totally optional. And then I finish with a squeeze of lemon. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the mushrooms. I do this first so that some of the moisture can render out and it gets really nice and meaty, and then I'll season it. And I'm gonna add some garlic powder as well as some smoked paprika. And this is again just gonna create a little bit more of that bacony, savory, smoked flavor. Now I'm adding in the tempeh bacon and I'm sauteing until this is really well combined and my entire kitchen basically smells like bacon. Then I just go ahead and I distribute that on top of my mac and cheese. I add a little more vegan cheese on top, and this is gonna go into the oven, so I like to use an oven-safe pot. What I like about that is the top gets really melty and gooey and cheesy, and I love to top this with some scallions just because I think that contrast of the fresh and zesty scallion with the rich and creamy sauce and that bacon is seriously so delicious. And this is how I might serve it if I was trying to impress Suki with my culinary skills, but in real life, this is what my plate looks like for dinner. I paired it with some vegetables. Don't tell Lorelai, it's a little more than lettuce essence, but it made the meal a little bit more hearty, a bit more filling, a bit more nutrient dense, and this was so good. I ended the night with some of my ice cream cookie sandwiches, which was also really delicious, and just one more episode of Gilmore Girls. But this was such a fun day. I hope you enjoyed this Gilmore Girls inspired what I eat in a day video. All the recipes are in the description box below, and that is also where you'll find a link to Try Thrive Market. And while you are here, comment below and let me know what your favorite episode is, or your favorite Gilmore-ism is, your favorite Gilmore Girls quote. I would love to know. And let me know if you're a team Dean, Jess, or Logan. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye, everyone.